Hey everybody, welcome to Weighing In with Andy Hamilton and David Mirikitani, a special edition of Weighing In, Finland edition. I'm Andy Hamilton coming to you from Tampere, Finland, site of the Junior World Championships. On the phone with me, David Mirikitani back in the States. David, how are you tonight?
It's this afternoon. I'm good, yeah. Congratulations on getting your first passport stamp. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's been a wild 48 hours, 72 hours. I don't know even how many hours it's been since I left home. I know it's been a busy couple, 3 days here, and it's as we're recording now, it's 11 p.m. here in Tampere. It's still light out. We get about 20 plus hours of daylight per day here. Last night, I was up working on some stuff. Saw the sun go down a little, got dark a little bit after midnight, and then still working at a little bit before 4 a.m., and it was already light again. So it's been fun. It's been unique, and ready to get the wrestling going here Tuesday morning.
What's been some of the coolest things that have, either wrestling-wise or just travel-wise, that you've got a chance to experience so far?
Just seeing the country, really. I mean, the train ride up from Helsinki up to Tampere was certainly interesting. About 90-minute train ride. Flew into Helsinki on Saturday and got in around I think it was like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then rode the train up here to Tampere, and pretty nice scenic ride through kind of forest country and farmland, and that was unique. The food has been a little bit different. First couple meals, apple puree looked like I thought it was mashed potatoes I was eating. It was apple puree. Then some kind of chicken and goat cheese and pumpkin puree concoction that I had on Sunday. But the city is a really nice. It's the second largest city in Finland, but it's got kind of a small city feel to it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Iowa City in some aspects, kind of like a Ped Mall type area. Surrounded, on both sides of the river, everything within walking distance except the arena, everything that I need to get to except the arena, which is, probably about 3 or 4 miles south of here along the river lake. I'm not even sure which it is, but there's also a pretty good sized shopping mall right down the street, a stadium. A couple blocks down the street where I believe they, have track and field and some other stuff there. But certainly been a unique experience for me, having never been out of the United States until this trip, and making this trip out here on my own. Since been joined by a few of the other guys from UWW, or as they call it here in Europe, UVV. So Richard Immel of USA Wrestling out here, Taylor Miller, Jason Bryant, and Andrew Hips got out here this evening. So, they're right down the hall, and, like I said, ready to get going with wrestling here in about, it looks like about 12 or 11 hours until go time.
Who wrestles first for us?
Yeah, so day one will be Mark Hall, two-time world champion, reigning junior world champion at 74 kilos. He's in the first crew along with Malik Heinzelman, prep from Colorado, Ohio State recruit. Mitch McKee, going to be a sophomore at Minnesota this season. And then Colin Moore, of course, the stud 197-pounder All-American from Ohio State. So that's the first foursome that's going to hit the mat on Tuesday. Draws came out this evening. Malik Heinzelman going to open up with Horst Lehr of Germany, a junior European bronze medalist. Mitch McKee draws Georgia's Edeme Boltkavadze, another junior Euro. Yeah, another junior Euro bronze medalist. Mark Hall will begin defense of his junior world title against Ukraine's Adlan Batayev. And then potentially a big match in round 2 for Mark Hall. He could face the winner of Radik Valiev of Russia or Ismail Abdullayev of Azerbaijan. Both of those guys were world silver medalists at the cadet level. Valiev has had some success at the senior level here this year. He was a silver medalist at Russian Nationals. He was claimed the bronze at the Urigan Grand Prix. And then Abdullayev was bronze medalist at this year's European U23 Championships. So certainly no easy road for Mark Hall. And then, Colin Moore draws Iranian Danielle Sheratini, who was the Asian Championships gold medalist. So anyway, look forward to, I've been out here for a couple days and look forward to finally watching some wrestling. Got over the venue for a little bit this morning and watched, 4 of the guys roll around for a little bit. Gable Steveson was over there. Ryan Deacon was over there. Zahid Valencia and Colin Moore were over there this morning. So got to see those guys roll around for a little bit. Kazakhstan, they were playing some game of, I don't even know what it was, but we're going to have some video of that up on, there is some video of that up on Track Wrestling's Instagram account. Kind of fun to watch those guys clowning around. And then the United States guys, those guys there's a basketball hoop out there. They were shooting hoops, playing horse. Zahid Valencia got a good single leg, but that guy's got a pretty good jump shot too. He stepped back and I don't know. I saw him drain like 3 or 4 shots from about 30 feet out. So I don't know. I don't know if he was the winner of the horse game, but man, he put on a show. So.
Well, that's interesting. Shooting 30-footers. That's pretty impressive. So I listen to everything you're saying. You told me a little bit about the Mark Hall thing. So him and the 2 silver medalists are all in one half of the draw. I mean, if he's on the top half or the bottom half, the other half, I'm sure there's other good kids, but I mean, that's just sort of the nature of international brackets, right? They pretty much, blind draw everything. Are the brackets 16s or 32s, or how big are they?
Let me pull them up here and count them up.
Sorry to be a nerd.
Yeah, but to your point, that's the deal with international wrestling. The unseeded blind draw, and I think UWW's working. I mean, obviously they've taken steps to implement some seeding here in at the senior level. They're seeding the top 4. Right. And certainly far from perfect formula that they've put into place for this year. They just basically used, what guys did at the Olympic Games last year, what they did at the non-Olympic World Championships, and what they did at the Continental Championships this year. So those were how they, they implemented a point system and points based off that. And if you moved up a weight, your points were null and void. And so, basically the guys at 57 kilos that earned the top 4 seeds, are pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, I think all 4 of them, have moved up to 61 or are not competing in the World Championships. And so, anyway, that's the way it looks. But, to answer your question earlier, it looks like 50 kilos has 16 or 17 guys in it. I can't quite tell, but there are some bigger brackets than that as you get into larger weights. But, Mark Hall at 70 kilos is going to have, in the unbalanced side, the larger side of the bracket, the bottom side has more guys in it. So, and it looks like certainly the tougher side of the bracket too. But certainly no easy task for Mark Hall to get through to his back-to-back, in his bid to win back-to-back world titles. But as we've seen time and again with Mark Hall, the guy's a winner, and he seems to rise to the occasion when the stakes are highest too.
Yeah, for sure. And, when guys are that good, they don't worry about the draw. They're the bad draw for somebody else, obviously. But it's interesting for a lot of people that love wrestling, but, don't follow, like how they do these things and aren't blessed like yourself or even myself to be around some of these things. It's not like a normal American, a U.S. bracket where there's 24 guys. They make sure there's 12 on each side and they spread the bodies out. They just start at the top, and then it's all loaded up on one side or the other, if you lose and your guy doesn't make the finals, you're out. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain without it being visual, but it's very, very different. So, I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, I watched Heinzelman wrestle head up, coaching against him, and I sort of got I really love how Colin Moore wrestles, and obviously Hall. So I mean, you've got 4 studs going tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see. I assume when I talked to Kevin Jackson last week, he sounded very, very optimistic about things, and I think probably the rest of the crew feels that way. Is that kind of the impression you're getting?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, why wouldn't you be? I mean, when you look at, the guys on this roster, I mean, we mentioned Mark Hall, and then you've got Colin Moore, and we talked at length about him throughout the last 6-7 months, and Dayton Fix, the guy that's won a lot of matches in a lot of different countries, and Gable Steveson, 2-time cadet world champion, a guy that we talked about him a couple weeks ago out at the OTC, rolling around with Nick Gwizdowski and Kyle Snyder, and certainly holding his own against 2 of the best guys. And Snyder, one of the best guys in the world, pound for pound, and then also, and then also Gwizdowski, our senior heavyweight representative.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's super interesting. I think, obviously these guys go and they have a goal, it's to be a world champion and all that other stuff that goes with it. But I know, like, when we had Zeke on Matt Chat, a lot of it is it gives Zahid Valencia something else to train for. It gives Zahid Valencia another focus, and it keeps him improving probably at a faster rate than other college guys are doing in July. And so, I mean, there's a tremendous advantage for these guys, whether it's Zahid or any of the other guys on the team. And it's also really interesting to kind of watch, half the team goes at once, then the other half goes. And it's kind of like that when you watch the Olympics, it's 3 weights on one day and 3 weights on the other 3 weights the other day. So I'm sure you had to have some sort of expectations so far. Have things been pretty similar to what you thought they would be, or there have been a lot of differences?
Yeah, kind of similar. I mean, I kind of came into this with an open mind, and it's just funny how different things are. When you get over here, the beds are really small, the rooms are small.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like a more of a cot than a bed, really. I mean, it's but it's comfortable. It's definitely comfortable. The bathroom. You could sit on the toilet and take a shower at the same time. It's
everything, but yeah,
everything's like right there next to each other. There's not I don't have an iron in my room, an iron or an ironing board, and so my clothes have been hanging on the shower rack for 3 days I've been here, and I've just been trying to steam all of the wrinkles out of my pants and shirts and stuff like that I'm going to be wearing to the arena. So every 15 minutes or so, I go in, turn on the water, crank it up real hot, and close the door, and let my clothes get pressed, I guess. The other thing that's I've never experienced before, but the the key to my hotel room is what turns on all the lights, and you have to have the key plugged into this little outlet by the door to keep the lights on. And it also runs the the thermostat in here. So if the thermostat, if the key isn't plugged in, if I take my key to go leave, then the thermostat goes down, I think, to like 21 degrees Celsius. I don't even know what that is Fahrenheit. I haven't on my converter here, but anyway, so that's a little bit unique, and just like I said, a really unique city in that I'm still getting accustomed to 20 hours of daylight, and having like it seems to me like right now that it should be about like 8:30 in the evening, and it's almost midnight. So
right,
that's taking some getting used to. But that and the European converters, not being able to just plug something in wherever, whenever you want to charge for your phone or need to plug in my computer or charge up my camcorders.
right.
You gotta have the converter plugged in and all that too. So
power strip life.
That and we Richard Immel of USA Wrestling and we walked around probably for about 45 minutes today looking for a place to eat, and there are a couple places that we walked into that just didn't even have an English menu, and so trying to figure out like what on earth we were going to eat. We just kept walking and wound up going to a little pizza joint, and ended up that Matt Storniolo and Andrew Howe were right behind us, so we ended up having lunch with those guys. So that was enjoyable, and
sweet.
Then met up with, like I said, Jason Bryan, Andrew Hibbs got in a little bit later, and so met up with those guys for dinner, and now we're kind of winding down, getting ready to call it a night and go watch some wrestling here in the morning.
Yeah, your stories remind me of a couple stories. When I went to Austria on the national team, the hotel, they gave you keys, but they told you if you locked your door that they would assume you stole something. So you had to leave everything unlocked the whole time. And then the story about you steaming your clothes, everybody who's ever cut weight has stories about steam rooms and saunas, but we were at Northwestern one year making weight for university nationals, and these guys had a rotation where you went from the sauna to the steam room to the showers where they had it all heated up, and the showers running like you're doing. And at one point, one of the coaches, and I'm not going to say who it was, but it was a very prominent Division I coach at the time, literally, didn't bring another suit for the next day, put all his stuff on a hanger and just hung it in the shower where all the guys were working out. And literally you watched all the wrinkles fall out of it while you were trying to lose weight. So welcome to the official wrestler club. If you're doing stuff like that, you officially got your man card on that one for sure. So
anyway,
an hour with Deacon, so he doesn't wrestle till the second day, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's got to be a great experience, and you look at how many different collegiate programs are represented. That's significant too. So I mean, you've got really two Ohio Staters, and Northwestern, Minnesota, Oklahoma State, two Minnesotas, right? I guess with Gable, maybe he's not there yet. So, those are, one of those programs. It's interesting to see with the RTCs and everything else how that's going.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it's spread out a little bit, and you see the Colin Moore from Ohio State, a big guy, and you look at, and we've talked at length about the success of the big guys in that room: Tervel Delognev, Kyle Snyder, Bo Jordan, Miles Martin, so on and so forth. You go further back, Nick Heflin, J.D. Bergman, and so So that's that's certainly no coincidence that the guy's made the kind of progress that he has in the last year. And then Mark Hall's been winning all his life, but you look at who he's got a chance to roll around with on an everyday basis in that Penn State room with Vincenzo Joseph and David Taylor and Bo Nickel and just keep going down the list. Jason Nolf, Zane Rutherford, and so it's no like I said, no coincidence that Colin Moore is where he is. It's no coincidence that Mark Hall is where he is. They're surrounded with guys that are making them better. The one guy that I think is pretty interesting in this is Deacon, in that a guy that wasn't on a lot of radars probably a year ago, and he placed fifth, I think, in Fargo in freestyle his senior year.
Right.
Comes out, doesn't place at his first college tournament. And then by the end of December, you were seeing a guy that was starting to catch some attention because of what he did at the Midlands. I mean, third at 149 pounds as a true freshman there, and just a guy that's been rock solid ever since.
Yeah, what's interesting is, I was talking to Kevin Jackson last week about the difference between college and the USA Wrestling job, and we agree. Obviously, you have to be an idiot not to about how important recruiting is. But when you recruit these guys, it's still different. Like, some guys never get better than they were, and some guys jump levels. And it's certainly not like every kid that comes in isn't trying to get better, and it's certainly not, any of the coaches don't want guys to get better, but sometimes the special sauce comes together and sometimes it doesn't. So it's interesting, but he's clearly a kid that's jumped really multiple levels. And, I would think, he's clearly the least accomplished, least well-known guy on that roster. And in a way, that's a great position for him to be in because, he's got zero pressure on him, and just being around guys that have won a lot more. I know, when I was a kid, being around guys that have won more, if you're smart at all, that's really where you can pick up even more and just kind of fly under the radar, and then, end up really doing some special things. So it'll be cool to see how he ends up doing in this thing. He might be one of those hidden gem stories. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And he beat some good dudes out in Vegas to get to that best of three championship series in Lincoln to earn the automatic ticket, and then took out Pat Lugo in two straight matches there, and Lugo had to run through the gauntlet, but certainly Deacon has proven himself to be a worthy competitor, a guy that's a hard hand fighter, physical, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he does here on the world stage, for the first time, and I'm really intrigued because I think this American freestyle team has a chance to do a lot of damage, to bring home a lot of hardware, and I think we'll get a good idea where it's heading tomorrow morning with Mark Hall and Malik Heinzelman. I think he's got a pretty good draw, and Colin Moore as well, and then look at Mitch McKee, a guy that certainly is a dangerous competitor in his own right with that head pinch and some of the things that he can do. He's a little bit feels like in some ways that he's got more of a foreign feel than a lot of the domestic guys, just because of some of the positions where he's really strong. But I'm looking forward to seeing what day one brings, and then certainly day two, you got some hammers, Gable Steveson, Zahid. I got a chance, to talk to Zeke Jones about him a little bit. The interview is up on Track Wrestling if you want to go check that out. Just talk to Zeke Jones a little bit about Zahid's progress, and also, what Arizona State got out of that trip to Cuba, and also where we're going to see Zahid next year, 74, 84. He talked about that. So that'll be one of the developments that'll be interesting to see throughout the early part of the fall, or throughout the fall as we get closer to the college season, where some of these guys are going to line up from a weight standpoint. I had a chance to talk to Nathan Tomasello. Believe it was on Thursday or Friday. All the days are running together at this point, but asked him the same question. Is he going to go 25? Is he going to go 33? He said it's 50-50 at this point. He said he will definitely start the season at 133 pounds. He's going to try to make a run to make the U23 world team, something that's new this year.
Yeah.
So that we talked a little bit off air, David, here, I think a week ago.
A week ago, we talked about that. Yeah. We should talk about that now. Because it's a really interesting thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, the U23 World Championships are going to be in November. Get the dates here pulled up.
While you're pulling up the dates, just for people to kind of understand, I mean, most of our college guys are going to be eligible for that. I mean, obviously, it's 23 and under. And so it's going to be interesting to see which of these guys, and, you don't have to be a genius. You can kind of just go through the finalists and see, who would be the top candidates for this team. But, it's kind of like when Imar was, missed the beginning part of last year. I mean, he's a guy that could do that again. I mean, half of Penn State's team could, miss the first part of the year. Obviously, Ohio State would have a couple guys like that as well. What's kind of frightening is probably Kyle Snyder's still under. Well, we know he's under 23.
Yeah,
if he would wrestle in that or not. But I mean, so it's interesting that what you said about Tomasello. Did he say what weight he's going to, try to make the team at for the under 23s?
No, he didn't. I did not ask either. But you talk about this team, what it could look like. I mean, Jaden Cox is 22. Kyle Snyder, I think, is 21 still. I don't think he turns 22 until November. Now does he want to compete in that? If he goes and wins his third, world and Olympic title here in, later in August, will he be interested in competing at the U23 championships? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of, we talked about this today at lunch. Well, why would he? And part of me asks, well, why wouldn't he? I mean, he's still wrestling college wrestling. I think the guy just
right. He doesn't really need to be doing that. Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
he's kind of proved his point there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's just a guy that loves to compete, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if Kyle Snyder decided to throw his hat in the ring on that and go try to win a U23 World Championship. But
well, wouldn't half the senior world team be eligible for this under 23 team with Snyder, Cox, Rutherford, and Gilman?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure on Thomas Gilman's age, but I'm guessing he probably would be.
So I mean, that's pretty. It's pretty crazy, right? And I mean, so. Is it going to be? Is it the 8? Will they implement the new 10 weight thing by then or not? Has that been decided?
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain on that. Whether that's considered, just still a 2017 season event, or if that's going to be part of, the transition. I think, I really don't have the answer for you there. I know that they are going to the 2-day format for the Cadet World Championship, so I imagine that that will also be in play, the 2-day weigh-in. So certainly you look up and down the roster and who the United States could put together for that team. It could be a pretty strong team. I'm curious, just which college teams let their guys go and which ones want to go. But man, there's a lot of firepower on that. It's going to be November 21st through 26th in Bydgoszcz, Poland, and that will be streamed on Track Wrestling. So be able to follow that tournament right around Thanksgiving holiday. So
yeah.
Who knows, David? Maybe I'll be spending Thanksgiving in Poland. We'll see.
Well, yeah, it's Thanksgiving's the 23rd. So yeah, if you don't want to do it, let me know. It'd be fun to go. So yeah, yeah, that team would just be amazing. I mean, just the names you mentioned that are on this team now, those guys, almost all these guys would be the favorites to be on that team as well. And then you add some of the older guys that from the senior level. I mean, then it just gets crazy, right? So, I mean, you'd certainly think that the U.S. would have a really strong team. So, the
Yep.
Tomasello thing's really interesting. Obviously, that Ohio State feels like the one team that has a chance to compete with Penn State at the national tournament. And really, they match up pretty well with them in a duel, especially if Tomasello's at 25. They can win. 74 and 84 are kind of toss-up matches, and they're favored at 97 in heavyweight. And regardless of what happens with Suriano, they would be favored with Tomasello. I would think at 25, he'd be a huge favorite at 33. So but if he's at 25 and Pletcher's at 33 and Keyshawn's at 41, that's they can win 5 matches in that duel. I mean, obviously Penn State's tough because they score so much bonus, but it's they've got some guys that can score bonus too. So that would be the duel of the year, I think. I don't know the schedule yet. I haven't seen all these schedules to know if they wrestle or not, but I sure hope they do.
Yeah, and the one thing that's kind of hanging out there still, at least as far as I know, I mean, I could be out of the loop since I've been out of the country, but McKenna, Joey McKenna down to when I had a chance to talk to him in Colorado Springs, it was Lehigh, Ohio State, Penn State. So that could certainly tip the scales a little bit there. With him potentially being in one of those two lineups, potentially 41 or maybe 49 if he goes to Ohio State, and Micah Jordan moving up. I don't know, but boy, you're talking about two of the most formidable lineups maybe ever in college wrestling. That you could probably throw Ohio State into that class too if they can plug Joey McKenna in at 41. But it'll be a fun year in college wrestling.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I did the interview with John Smith, in Stillwater coming back from Tulsa, and interviewed Eric Guerrero Friday, and I think that's going to go up. Well, I know it's going to go up some point this week on track. And, I talked to those guys, and they had, obviously Eric hadn't left there yet, 8 All-Americans, 6 returning, and no one's got them picked higher than 3rd. I mean, and they got a champ. It's kind of crazy. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that all goes. So, I don't know. Are you still there, Andy?
I am. I lost you there for a while, David.
Okay.
Anyway.
We're just talking about how deep Oklahoma State is, and they're generally probably picked to be no better than 3rd. It is going to just be an unbelievable year in college wrestling. So, something to look forward to.
Well, the big news I see back in the States today, the Olympics are heading back to LA.
2028, right?
2028.
Get on Hotwire now.
Yep. Get your hotels reserved. Get your tickets.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. So, yeah.
So that's going to be cool, though. Did you go to Atlanta in '96?
I didn't. I will figure out a way to be in LA in 2028. I think if you're a wrestling fan, you have to be, right? I mean,
Yep.
It's just going to be amazing. So.
Yep. Well, anything else you want to hit this week, David?
No. We did some stuff talking to the people in Cleveland about the border brawl and kind of putting those matchups together. And it's way off. We can talk about it down the line, but the amount of good kids in Northeast Ohio and then in the bordering states is really, really impressive for a Missouri guy to, start digging through those names. It's awfully, it's going to be fun to watch. Just, everybody is there's like 25 kids in the top 100. So going to be some awesome matchups. Yeah. Really, really. And it's benefiting, Extreme Couture GI Foundation and Cleveland State University Wrestling. So kind of a labor of love and, good karma for all of us involved.
So what do you got coming up on Matt Chat here in the days and weeks ahead?
And Eric Guerrero will come out, I think by tomorrow or Wednesday, and then Kevin Dresser will be up on Friday, and then working on a couple other things, but nothing firm yet. So, going to try to talk to Rick Tucci and see if he'd come on after the World Championships. And then just a couple other things, probably for about 2 months, and then we get back into, our bread and butter, which are those assistant coaches, once we hit October and November, talking to them about their programs.
Well, anyway, great stuff. And looking forward to this tournament getting going here in Tampere, Finland, Junior World Championships, freestyle, Tuesday and Wednesday, women's freestyle, Thursday and Friday, and Greco-Roman Saturday and Sunday. It's all going to be on Track Wrestling. So check it out. David Mirikitani, thank you as always.
Yeah, and 2 things. Enjoy it, man. You really deserve it. And I got to give a shout-out to my guy, Sevian Severato, who's on that junior Greco team from St. Louis, and his coach, Cornell Robinson. Proud of both those guys and what they're doing. It's going to be awesome to get to watch them wrestle at the highest level.
So you can check out Sevian Saturday and Sunday. Actually, not quite sure which day he falls on. I think it's Saturday, isn't it?
I think so.
Off the top of your head?
Yeah, I was watching the UFC with Cornell Saturday. That's what he told me. So
anyway, that'll do it for this week's edition of Weighing In with Andy Hamilton and David Mirikitani. We'll be back next week after I get back to the Cedar Valley. So check Track Wrestling for all the coverage of the Junior World Championships, and we'll be previewing the Senior World Championships. We're starting the countdown to Paris, down to, I think, 21 days out from the World Championships in Paris. Doing a 24-part, 24-day profile series on every member of USA Wrestling's Greco-Roman, women's freestyle, and men's freestyle world teams. Check that out as well, and we'll be back next week.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.